First contact fallout. Senior diplomatic archivist Zilthrak adjusted his ocular implants as the Grand Assembly Hall of the Unified Galactic Council, filled with representatives from 237 spacefaring civilizations. Today marked a significant milestone in Council history, the formal introduction of the newest provisional member species, humans. Zilthrak had been studying reports about these bipedal mammals for standard cycles now. Their advancement trajectory was unprecedented, moving from primitive radio signals to functional faster-than-light travel in less than 300 years. Most species took millennia to make such leaps. Their rapid progress made many council members uneasy. High Chancellor Morvendahl, the 12-limbed Paraxian, who had led the council for 60 cycles, raised her primary appendages for silence. The chamber's acoustic dampeners engaged, quieting the cacophony of clicks, whistles, and modulated speech. Esteemed representatives, the Chancellor's voice resonated through translation modules throughout the chamber. Today we welcome observers from Sol System, known as humans, to our deliberations. The delegation of 5 humans entered without ceremony, dressed in what Zilthrak's database identified as formal diplomatic attire, simple, functional, and lacking the elaborate ornamentation most species considered essential for diplomatic occasions. Ambassador Elena Reyes, the lead human diplomat, approached the central speaking platform. On behalf of the United Earth Government, I thank the Council for this opportunity. We come seeking mutual understanding and beneficial exchange. Her words were measured and respectful, yet Zilthrak noted how several delegates shifted uncomfortably. The Axelrod representatives' scent glands were releasing stress pheromones detectable even from Zilthrak's recording position. Ambassador Kolvosh of the Zorelian Imperium, a species that had dominated interstellar trade for 12 millennia, rose to speak without formal recognition, a minor but deliberate breach of protocol. Chancellor, while we welcome new voices, I must inquire about the unprecedented haste with which these newcomers have been granted observer status. The traditional probationary period is 15 cycles. The humans have barely established their first extrasolar colonies. Reyes maintained a neutral expression, but Zilthrak noticed how the military attaché in the human delegation, Commander Sarah Chen, narrowed her eyes slightly. Chancellor Morvendahl's upper appendages flickered in annoyance. The Council voted, Ambassador Kolvosh. The decision was made based on humanity's remarkable technological adaptability and resource efficiency. Their terraforming techniques alone have proven valuable to multiple member worlds. Techniques they have suspiciously refused to fully document, Kolvosh countered. And what of their military vessels? Our scanners detect weapons systems disproportionate to their claimed defensive needs. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Zilthrak recorded the shifting allegiances forming. The technological species showing interest in the humans, the ancient empires displaying clear disdain. Ambassador Reyes stepped forward. With respect, Ambassador Kolvosh, Earth has spent centuries under threat of self-annihilation. Our weaponry reflects historical caution, not aggressive intent. As for our terraforming technology, full documentation requires certain proprietary safeguards that we are still negotiating. Proprietary, scoffed Kolvosh. The Council has shared knowledge freely for 20,000 years. Not quite freely, Commander Chen spoke suddenly, breaking protocol. Our analysis of Council trade agreements reveals 17 distinct tiers of technological access based on species longevity and economic contribution. The chamber went silent. Such information was technically available, but rarely discussed openly. Zilthrak noted how several elder species representatives stiffened. The humans have been monitoring our secure databases, hissed Turlock of the Vesperian Conclave, their scaled membranes flaring with indignation. Public databases, corrected Dr. Marcus Way, the science officer in the human delegation. Pattern recognition algorithms, a human specialty. Chancellor Morvendahl intervened. Let us return to the matter at hand. The humans are here as observers for the Grand Council session, and participants in the Outer Rim border dispute negotiations. For 3 standard weeks, the humans participated in council deliberations with surprising effectiveness. Their suggestions for resolving the centuries-old territorial conflict between the Vesperians and the Arcturan Syndicate were innovative, if unconventional. Their analysis of trade imbalances across the Orion Spur provoked uncomfortable discussions among the economic powers. But the incident that precipitated the crisis occurred during the 17th session. Ambassador Kolvosh presented evidence of unregistered human vessels operating in restricted sectors near the galactic core. These craft employ stealth technology beyond what the humans have officially declared. They have been gathering intelligence on our most sensitive installations. The human delegation exchanged glances. Zilthrek enhanced his audio receptors to catch Commander Chen whispering to Ambassador Reyes. They found the CNTIAEL network. Reyes stood. Chancellor, distinguished representatives, it appears we must address a misunderstanding. The vessels in question are autonomous research platforms designated for deep space observation. Observation of what precisely? Demanded Kolvosh. A moment of hesitation. Anomalous energy signatures emanating from the galactic barrier. A scientific curiosity. A curiosity requiring military-grade sensor arrays and quantum-encrypted communications. Kolvosh projected images of the human vessels, highlighting their capabilities. These are surveillance craft, plain and simple. The Council erupted in outrage. Charges of espionage, duplicity, and treaty violations filled the chamber. Chancellor Morvendahl struggled to maintain order. When the chaos subsided, Ambassador Reyes's expression had hardened. In light of these accusations and the clear lack of trust, the human delegation will withdraw from these proceedings, effective immediately. A transparent attempt to avoid accountability, sneered Kolvosh. A recognition of irreconcilable differences in diplomatic approach, Reyes countered. We will depart Council space within 48 standard hours. All human outposts, trading stations, and research facilities will likewise suspend operations. The announcement sent shockwaves through the assembly. The humans had established numerous small but vital trading posts throughout Council space over the past decade. Their medical technology alone had become integral to dozens of worlds. Surely this reaction is excessive. Chancellor Morvendahl attempted to salvage the situation. Ambassador Kolvosh speaks only for the Zorelian Imperium, not the entire Council. Yet the Council did not object to these baseless accusations, noted Reyes. We came seeking partnership, not subjugation disguised as mentorship. Humanity will find its own path among the stars. With that, the human delegation departed, ignoring calls for reconsideration. Within the promised 48 hours, every human vessel, installation, and citizen disappeared from Council space, returning to their territory around Sol and their few colony systems. Throughout the proceedings, Zilthrek noticed something peculiar. The humans showed neither anger nor desperation. Their withdrawal seemed almost calculated. In the council chambers, Ambassador Kolvosh raised a ceremonial goblet. To the departure of troublesome primitives who presumed to lecture their betters on galactic affairs. Many joined the toast, especially representatives of the elder species. Yet Zilthrek observed several members of the technological and scientific delegations exchanging worried glances. The Arcturan representative approached Chancellor Morvendahl quietly. Chancellor, the humans were providing critical components for our quantum communication network. Without their specialized materials, the system will begin degrading within weeks. Surely we can synthesize alternatives, Morvendahl replied. Their components utilize elements in quantum states our scientists don't fully understand. We've tried to reverse engineer them for years without success. Similar concerns began to emerge from other delegations, but they were quickly dismissed by the elder powers. Ambassador Kolvosh's voice rose above the murmurs. Let them go. If their primitive technology is truly valuable, they will return begging for readmission once they realize the folly of isolation. As the session concluded, Zilthrek filed his official record. adding a personal notation. The humans departed not with the desperation of the rejected, but with the confidence of those who know their true value. I predict unforeseen consequences. He had no idea how quickly those consequences would materialize. Economic tremors. 3 cycles after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, Zilthrek found himself reassigned from diplomatic archives to the Economic Emergency Committee, a hastily formed body attempting to address what many were now calling the human absence crisis. The committee chamber in the Council's economic tower was significantly smaller than the Grand Assembly Hall, but no less tense. Representatives from the most powerful trading conglomerates and banking houses across the galaxy sat around a circular table, their usual competitive disdain replaced by shared anxiety. Zilthrek activated his recording protocols as Director Fennin of the Galactic Trade Commission called the meeting to order. The Medusan's crystalline form pulsed with stress patterns visible even to non-telepathic species. The situation continues to deteriorate, Fennin began without preamble. 17 major manufacturing centers across 6 sectors have halted production due to component shortages. The Arcturus-Rigel shipping corridor reports 70% decline in traffic. The Central Exchange has suspended trading in 38 key commodities due to price volatility. We've known this was coming for weeks, snapped Vorex Tan, representative of the Zorelian Commerce Guild. What's being done to address it? Zilthrek noted the irony that Tan's guild operated under the direct patronage of Ambassador Kolvosh, the very diplomat who had driven the humans away. Director Fennin's crystalline form dimmed slightly. Our efforts to synthesize human-produced quantum resonance crystals have failed. Without these components, 43% of galactic communication relays will fail within 2 standard months. A Keltheran trade minister slammed a tentacle on the table. The humans were operating only 300 facilities in council space. How could their withdrawal cause such catastrophic supply chain disruptions? Chief economist Lorana, an Arcturan whose species specialized in predictive mathematics, brought up a holographic display of interweaving trade networks. The humans positioned themselves with remarkable strategic precision. Their outposts were small but produced critical components that larger manufacturing centers depend upon. The display highlighted thousands of nodes across council space where production had slowed or halted entirely. It appears the humans practiced something they called just-in-time supply chain management, Lorana continued. They provided specialized components precisely when needed, maintaining minimal stockpiles. They became essential links in production chains while remaining virtually invisible in overall trade volume statistics. A deliberate strategy to create dependency, Vorex Tan accused. Perhaps, conceded Lorana, or simply an efficient business model we failed to recognize. Either way, the humans understood our economic infrastructure better than we understood theirs. Financial arbiter Dexon of the Central Banking Confederation, a consortium representing 2,000 worlds, raised a holographic report. The crisis extends beyond manufacturing. Human financial algorithms maintain stability in 17 trade exchanges. Without them, we're seeing unprecedented volatility. Financial algorithms? Questioned Tan. Surely we can replace those. Dexon's expression darkened. We've tried. Their code is unconventional. They employ something they call creative solutions and elegant hacks that defy standard programming logic. Our systems operate on absolute predictability. Theirs somehow function through controlled chaos. Zilthrek observed the growing discomfort around the table. The economic powers of the galaxy were discovering that the primitive newcomers had integrated themselves into the cosmic economy with stunning effectiveness. We also discovered another problem, Director Fennin added reluctantly. Several major corporations across multiple species have been secretly purchasing human technology, rebranding it, and selling it as their own. The chamber erupted in shouts and accusations. Zilthrek's recording devices struggled to capture the overlapping voices. Silence, commanded Lorana, her mathematical symbols flashing in agitation. Assigning blame helps nothing. We must address the consequences. The holographic display shifted to show cascading economic projections. Red indicators spread like infection across the galactic map. If current trends continue, Lorana explained, we project a 37% contraction in galactic trade within 6 months. 12 systems are already reporting critical resource shortages. The economic stability we've maintained for millennia is unraveling. We must re-establish contact with the humans, suggested Arbiter Dexon. Surely they can be brought back to the negotiating table. Vorax Tan scoffed. The Zorelian Imperium does not beg primitives for assistance. Then the Zorelian Imperium can explain to its citizens why their communication networks are failing and basic goods are becoming unaffordable, countered Dexon. As the arguments intensified, a junior communications officer burst into the chamber, a serious breach of protocol that instantly silenced the debate. Forgive the interruption, the Tellerate stammered, but we've received an urgent transmission from the Sentinel outpost in the Cygnus Gap. We are in emergency session. Director Fennon reprimanded. Security matters must wait. The outpost reports detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the galactic barrier. The officer continued, mandibles clicking nervously. They've lost contact with 3 monitoring stations. Zilthrak felt an uncharacteristic chill in his recording appendages. The Cygnus Gap was the region where the humans had positioned their mysterious research vessels. What does this have to do with our economic crisis? Demanded Tan. Chief Economist Lorana had gone still, her calculation patterns frozen in a pattern Zilthrak had never observed before. The human vessels, she whispered. They weren't conducting research or surveillance on us. What? They were maintaining a detection network, Lorana realized. A warning system. The economic emergency suddenly seemed trivial compared to the question no one had thought to ask. What exactly had the humans been watching for at the edge of the galaxy, and what was now approaching without them there to monitor it? The void beyond. The Strategic Defense Council of the Galactic Union convened in the secure underground chambers beneath the Council Tower, a facility used only 3 times in recorded history. Zilthrak's security clearance had been hastily upgraded, allowing him to document the proceedings for what many feared might become the final historical record of galactic civilization. Fleet Admiral Tarn Voss of the Combined Defense Forces stood before a 3-dimensional projection of the galaxy's outer rim. The grizzled Palladian's exoskeleton bore the distinctive scarring of the Hive War 5 centuries earlier, the last major conflict faced by Council space. The situation is deteriorating rapidly, Voss began, his voice modulation set to military precision. We've lost contact with 27 outposts along the Cygnus boundary. Our long-range sensors detect massive energy disturbances consuming everything in their path. The holographic display showed a spreading darkness advancing from beyond the galactic barrier. Not a physical darkness, but an absence of signals, a void where stars and communications went silent. Analysis, asked High Chancellor Morvendahl, who now appeared noticeably aged compared to just weeks earlier when the humans departed. Science Director Epsilon 9, a synthetic intelligence representing the mechanoid collective, interfaced directly with the projection systems. The phenomenon exhibits properties consistent with theoretical models of space-time degradation. Reality itself appears to be unraveling at the quantum level. Can it be contained? Reversed? Demanded Ambassador Kolvosh, whose earlier triumphalism had vanished entirely. Unknown, replied Epsilon 9. Our understanding of transdimensional physics is insufficient to formulate an effective response. Zilthrak noticed how the chamber's attention subtly shifted toward the empty seat where the human delegation would have been positioned. The implications were clear but remained unspoken until Admiral Voss addressed them directly. After analyzing debris from the fallen outposts, we've discovered something significant. Voss projected images of shattered monitoring stations. These outposts were surrounded by remnants of advanced technology, not of Council design. Evidence suggests they were defensive systems that had been actively containing the anomaly. Human technology, stated Chancellor Morvendahl. It wasn't a question. Confirmed, said Voss. And based on energy signature dating, these systems have been in place for approximately 70 Earth years, decades before humanity officially achieved faster-than-light travel. The revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. Impossible, declared Kolvosh. No species develops interstellar capabilities in secret. Yet the evidence suggests exactly that, countered Science Director Epsilon 9. Further analysis indicates these defensive arrays were powered by a form of quantum entanglement we cannot replicate. They appear to have been maintaining a stabilization field at the quantum level, essentially holding back whatever is now advancing. If the humans had such technology, why maintain the pretense of being newcomers to interstellar travel? Asked Trelloc of the Vesperian conclave. An unexpected voice answered. Ambassador Lithuri of the Arcadian technocracy, a species known for minimal participation in council politics, rose from her seat. Because they were studying us, she stated simply. My people have maintained unofficial contact with human scientists for 20 Earth years. They approached us discreetly, seeking to understand the council before formal first contact. This is an outrageous breach of protocol, Kolvosh thundered. Perhaps, Lithuri acknowledged, unperturbed. But the humans shared concerns that proved prophetic. They discovered the spatial anomaly nearly a century ago, when their primitive radio telescopes detected quantum disturbances at the galaxy's edge. While developing countermeasures, they intercepted council communications and determined that immediate disclosure would result in exactly what transpired here: accusation, suspicion, and marginalization. Admiral Voss resumed the briefing. Based on current trajectories, the anomaly will reach populated council systems within 3 months. Conventional weapons had no effect. Our most advanced vessels that attempted engagement have not returned. Chancellor Morvendal's appendages trembled slightly. We must re-establish contact with the humans. If they have been containing this threat, they may know how to stop it. If they even wish to help us now, noted Ambassador Lithuri. We have not endeared ourselves to them. Surely they wouldn't condemn trillions of sentient beings out of spite, insisted Trelloc. No, agreed Lithuri. But they may require significant concessions before committing their resources to our defense. Zilthrak observed the shifting political dynamics with fascination. Species that had dominated council politics for millennia were now contemplating humbling themselves before the very civilization they had dismissed as primitive. We've attempted communication, Admiral Voss reported. The humans have established a communication barrier around their territory. Our signals cannot penetrate. Then we must send a direct delegation, declared Chancellor Morvendal. A high-level diplomatic mission to Earth itself. Ambassador Kolvosh, whose earlier machinations had precipitated the human withdrawal, shifted uncomfortably. The Zorelian Imperium volunteers to lead this mission. I suspect you're the last person the humans wish to see, countered Ambassador Lithuri with unexpected sharpness. This requires representatives they might actually trust. After heated debate, a delegation was appointed, led by Chancellor Morvendal herself, an unprecedented step in council history. Never before had the High Chancellor left council space on a diplomatic mission. As the strategy session concluded, Zilthrak received an unexpected private communication on his secure channel. The sender identification was unfamiliar, but the message was clear. We've been watching. Tell your council. Approach Earth orbit. Come unarmed. 1 ship only. You have 72 hours before we close the corridors entirely. The darkness doesn't wait. The communication signature indicated human origin, but offered no specific identification. Zilthrak immediately brought it to Chancellor Morvendal's attention. They're still monitoring our communications, Kolvosh noted with renewed indignation. Of course they are, replied the Chancellor wearily. They never stopped understanding us. We simply failed to understand them. As preparations for the diplomatic mission began, Zilthrak found himself assigned to accompany the Chancellor as official historian. The gravity of the situation became clear when the Council's most sacred protocols were waived, There was no time for the traditional preparations for first contact ceremonies. They were no longer dealing with a diplomatic incident or an economic crisis. They were racing against extinction. Diplomatic scramble. The diplomatic vessel Celestial Accord approached the edge of human-controlled space with minimal escort, a single unarmed ship as specified in the mysterious communication. Chancellor Morvendahl had overruled objections from the Security Council, recognizing that conventional military thinking had little relevance when facing both an incomprehensible cosmic threat and a species that had consistently defied expectations. Zilthrek maintained his recording functions at maximum sensitivity. Whatever transpired here would become the most significant diplomatic exchange in Council history, assuming there remained a Council to preserve such records. "We're approaching the designated coordinates," announced the navigation officer, a Tellarite whose mandibles clicked nervously. No sign of human vessels. The view screen showed only empty space, the unremarkable boundary between star systems, with nothing to indicate they had reached a significant threshold. "Are we certain of the coordinates?" asked Ambassador Lithari, who had been selected as secondary envoy due to her prior unofficial contact with humans. "Confirmed to 16 decimal places," the navigator assured her. Chancellor Morvendahl settled her 12 limbs into a formal diplomatic posture. "Open all standard communication channels and broadcast our arrival message." Before the communications officer could comply, the starfield before them shifted. Space itself seemed to ripple and part, revealing a massive structure that had been completely undetectable moments before. "Impossible," whispered science attaché Exuril. "No cloaking technology could conceal something of that magnitude from our sensors." The structure was unlike any space station in Council records, not the elegant spirals of Arcturan design or the crystalline geometries of the Medusans. This was something altogether different, a massive cylindrical construct at least 20 kilometers in length, rotating slowly to generate artificial gravity, with modular sections that appeared capable of reconfiguration. "We're being scanned," reported the security officer. "Like nothing I've ever encountered. The beam is passing through all defensive shielding as if it weren't there." A communication channel opened without any action from the Accord's crew. A human face appeared on the main view screen, a female with dark skin and close-cropped silver hair. Her expression was neutral but evaluative. "Chancellor Morvendahl," she acknowledged without introduction. "I am Director Amara Okafor of the Earth Defense Initiative. Your arrival is timely. The void advances faster than our models predicted." The casual reference to the existential threat they faced, simply the void, sent a chill through the delegation. Chancellor Morvendahl performed the traditional 12-limbed greeting of highest respect. "Director Okafor, we come seeking humanity's assistance in the face of this common threat. The Council acknowledges its error in dismissing your warnings." Okafor's expression remained unchanged. "This isn't about apologies, Chancellor. It's about survival, yours and ours. We've been containing the void for 76 years. Without our suppression network, we estimate total galactic consumption within 16 months. Ambassador Kolvosh stepped forward, his prideful bearing somewhat diminished but still evident. "If you've known about this threat for so long, why not simply inform the Council directly? Why the elaborate deception about your technological development?" A flicker of something, perhaps annoyance, perhaps amusement, crossed Okafor's face. "We tried, Ambassador. 3 times in the past century, we sent representatives to the Council. 3 times they were dismissed as delusional or fraudulent because we didn't follow proper protocols or have the appropriate evolutionary history." Zilthrak accessed his historical archives, searching for these alleged contacts. To his surprise, he found buried references, incidents classified as unverified contact attempts, and probable hoaxes from decades earlier. "The 4th time," continued Okafor, "we decided to play by your rules. We presented ourselves as newcomers, established trade relations, built trust incrementally. We hoped to gradually introduce the truth about the void once we had established credibility." Until I accuse you of espionage, Kolvosh acknowledged, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. Your actions merely accelerated our contingency plans, Okafor replied. We withdrew not out of spite, but strategic necessity. Our scientists calculated that demonstrating your dependence on our technology would create leverage more quickly than continued diplomatic efforts. The calculated nature of humanity's actions stunned the delegation. They had interpreted the human withdrawal as an emotional response to insult. Instead, it had been a coldly rational strategy to force recognition of their importance. You engineered an economic crisis deliberately, asked Ambassador Lithari. We positioned ourselves where we would be most missed, corrected Okafor. The crisis was inevitable once we withdrew. That's not manipulation. It's logical consequence. Chancellor Morvendahl's appendages signaled distress. Regardless of past misunderstandings, we face a common threat. What do you require to help us combat this void? Director Okafor's gaze intensified. Not help you, Chancellor. Help each other. The void consumes all reality equally. We've prepared terms for a genuine alliance, not the patronizing observer status you initially offered. A data transmission reached the Accord, containing what appeared to be a comprehensive treaty document. Zilthrak began analyzing it immediately, his specialized diplomatic programming highlighting key provisions. These terms, Chancellor Morvendahl began after reviewing the proposal. They would grant humanity equal standing with founding council species, access to all technological archives, voting rights in the Security and Development Councils, Joint Research Authority. Precisely, confirmed Okafor. Equal partnership, not provisional membership. Our ships integrated into defense fleets, not segregated as auxiliary support. Our scientists leading joint research initiatives, not supervised like promising students. Ambassador Kolvosh bristled. Some of these provisions violate protocols established over 20,000 years ago. Those protocols, Okafor countered calmly, didn't anticipate reality unraveling at the quantum level. Traditions are luxury items. Ambassador, survival is essential. Zilthrak observed the delegation's reactions with fascination. The humans weren't behaving like supplicants seeking readmission or even aggrieved parties demanding apology. They were negotiating as equals, perhaps even from a position of advantage, with the most powerful political entity in the galaxy. How do we know you can actually stop this threat? Challenged Science Attaché Exuril. If you've only been containing it until now. A fair question, acknowledged Okafor. She gestured, and the view screen split to show another human. A male with East Asian features wearing what appeared to be a laboratory uniform. Dr. Wei, please explain Project Firebreak to our guests. The scientist nodded. We began developing quantum resonance technology during our first encounters with the void in the late 21st century. Our containment fields have been holding it at bay, but they require constant maintenance and adjustment as the void evolves. We've recently completed the prototype for a permanent solution, a dimensional stabilizer that could potentially seal the breach completely. Holographic schematics appeared, showing technology far beyond anything in Council archives. Zilthrak recorded everything, noting how the theoretical principles seemed to blend known physics with concepts that bordered on the metaphysical. The stabilizer requires materials and energy sources we cannot produce in sufficient quantities, continued Dr. Wei. With Council resources and our technology, we can construct a network that could not just contain the void, but reverse it. Chancellor Morvendahl conferred briefly with her delegation before turning back to the screen. Humanity has proven its value beyond question. The terms are acceptable in principle, subject to certain clarifications. When can implementation begin? Immediately, replied Director Okafor. Our fleet is already mobilizing to re-establish the containment perimeter. We'll need your shipyards to begin producing components according to our specifications within 48 hours. The urgency was startling but understandable. As the delegation prepared to return with the treaty, Zilthrak received another private communication on his secure channel. History will record this as either the beginning of a genuine galactic community or the last gasp of a dying civilization. The choice was never ours alone to make. As the Celestial Accord departed human space, Zilthrek reflected on the remarkable reversal of fortune. The species dismissed as primitive newcomers just weeks ago were now positioned to become the saviors of galactic civilization, but only on their terms. The Council had learned a costly lesson about presumption and prejudice, one that would reshape interstellar relations for millennia to come. If, of course, there were millennia yet to come. Part 5. Return on human terms. One standard year after the signing of the Sol Accords, Zilthrek stood in the newly constructed Hall of United Species, recording the proceedings of what many now called the Reformation Council. The architecture itself symbolized the dramatic changes in galactic governance. Gone were the hierarchical arrangements that had placed ancient species in positions of physical prominence. The new chamber was a perfect circle, with each delegation placed equidistant from the central platform. Chancellor Morven Dahl had voluntarily stepped down after 8 millennia of Paraxian leadership, supporting the institution of a rotating chancellorship among all member species. Today, she sat as a regular delegate, while the newly elected chancellor, Director Amara Okafor of Earth, addressed the assembled representatives. The Firebreak project has achieved 93% completion, Okafor reported, her commanding presence belying humanity's brief tenure in galactic politics. The quantum stabilization network has successfully reversed void advancement in 17 sectors. Our scientists project complete dimensional sealing within 3 months. Holographic displays showed the transformed galactic boundary, where once a creeping darkness had threatened to consume all reality. Now a shimmering barrier of interlocked energy fields maintained the integrity of spacetime itself. This achievement, continued Okafor, represents the true potential of genuine cooperation. Human theoretical physics combined with Arcturan quantum engineering, Medusan crystalline technology, and Zorellian energy production has accomplished what none of us could have managed alone. Zilthrek noted with interest how Ambassador Klavosh, once humanity's most vocal critic, nodded in acknowledgement. The Zorellian Imperium had suffered significant political upheaval after the economic crisis, with Klavosh barely maintaining his position. His survival had depended on embracing the new cooperative paradigm. Beyond the immediate threat, Okafor continued, the Joint Scientific Commission has identified applications of firebreak technology that promise to transform energy production, communication, and transportation throughout Council space. The economic revitalization was already evident. Human reintegration into galactic commerce had not simply restored previous trade patterns, but catalyzed entirely new industries. Their just-in-time manufacturing principles, once criticized as creating dangerous dependencies, had been adapted across thousands of worlds with remarkable results. As we secure our galaxy's physical boundaries, concluded Okafor, I propose we turn our attention to its social and political boundaries as well. The Reformation Committee has prepared recommendations for integrating 37 species previously denied Council membership due to their developmental stage or unconventional biological nature. This proposal, unthinkable under the old regime, received widespread support. The existential crisis had shattered countless traditions and prejudices. Species that had nursed ancient rivalries now collaborated out of necessity, only to discover unexpected benefits in cooperation. As the formal session concluded, Zilthrek joined a smaller gathering in the diplomatic reception area. Here, away from the official proceedings, he could observe the true state of interspecies relations. Dr. Marcus Way, now heading the Joint Scientific Commission, was deep in conversation with Medusan crystallographers about applications of quantum resonance to consciousness expansion. Commander Sarah Chen, recently promoted to lead the Unified Defense Fleet, discussed tactical innovations with Admiral Voss, whose initial skepticism of human military doctrine had transformed into grudging respect and then genuine admiration. And in a quieter corner, Ambassador Elena Rice, the diplomat whose calculated withdrawal had precipitated the crisis and eventual transformation, Spoke privately with former Chancellor Morvendahl. You knew, didn't you? Morvendahl asked, her translator set to private mode, though Zilthrak's enhanced recording systems could still detect it. When you withdrew from the council, you anticipated everything that followed. Rice smiled slightly. Not everything. We calculated an 87% probability that economic disruption would force reconsideration of our status. The void's acceleration was an unwelcome complication, yet you used even that to humanity's